Senator John Fetterman is home.
I believe in you, Fetterman. Come on, bro. You got this.
6 weeks after he was hospitalized for depression at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, where we talked with him this past week. I found Senator Fetterman hopeful, optimistic, ready to return to the United States Senate and his role as a dad. So, if we sat down, you would take the rocking chair.
Yeah, that's me.
At 6'8", John Fetterman is still a formidable man, despite 2 serious assaults on his health in less than a year. He suffered a stroke in May, and after a private struggle for years, in mid-February he entered Walter Reed for treatment of depression. We talked there 2 days before he went home.
When I look at this news, I start having an anxiety attack.
First time ever to be in remission with my depression. And I can't wait to what it really feels like to take it all in and to start making up any lost time.
To colleagues, he'd seemed lost even at his swearing in. Later, Dr. David Williamson recognized major depression.
He had markedly reduced motivation and drive.
A neuropsychiatrist, Williamson has been treating Senator Fetterman.
The RPM in the brain, how fast you think and how clearly you think, is very substantially degraded when patients get depressed.
It's reversible?
It's certainly reversible, yes.
1 in 3 stroke patients develops depression. 21 million American adults have experienced major depression. What makes John Fetterman's diagnosis unique, but not unprecedented, is a politician sharing it publicly.
My message right now isn't political. I'm just somebody that's suffering from depression.
A former steel town outside Pittsburgh, Braddock put him on the map, and vice versa. Population less than 2,000, with high unemployment, low income, and a towering mayor with a Harvard degree and a penchant for hoodies and shorts. He was becoming a rising political star and an unlikely darling of the fashion world.
What did GQ call you? They said you were a fashion god or something?
His wife of 15 years, Giselle.
American taste god. And then the New York Times, I found out that I was one of the most fashionable or something.
That's right. Along with Beyoncé and Brad Pitt, Fetterman was one of the paper's most stylish people of 2022. It was an edgy, modern look.
It was appalling.
John Fetterman began his campaign for United States Senate last spring with the wind to his back. But after the stroke at age 52, he would fight headwinds until Election Day, when his health became the issue. Doctors at Walter Reed have discovered a serious hearing deficit.
Yeah, that's
further complicating the
usually
way his
like when
brain
people
now
go through
processes spoken language. When I talk, what do you hear?
A seizure?
I hear you talking, and I can
stroke?
understand much of what you're
Stroke
saying.
victims usually
But my hearing has a
cause of
deficiency
depression, I heard.
that makes it
learned
difficult for
from
me to
other
fully
videos.
understand 100% of it.
At some point, I heard you described what you hear as like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah, early on that was more, months and months ago, whatever. But right now, captioning is helpful for me.
I should get my husband one of those because when I talk, he hears that same wah, 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 wah.
Well, yeah.
His reliance on closed captioning had its biggest test during the campaigns, one debate, which was widely considered a setback.
I'm the only person on this stage right now that was successful about pushing
the debate.
Yo, Dr. Oz was an asshole. That guy was a dick.
Wipe your ass with them.
Bro, he was a straight up demon. Like, he was really mean. And I think that, like, him being so mean to Fetterman really backfired. Because a lot of people have, like, these health issues, man. Especially in PA.
Performance was not you at your best. Was that fair?
If I'm in the race and I made the decision to stay in the race, that it's important that I show up for a debate, and fully knowing that it would be challenging, and that's what we did.
And in November, John Fetterman won, flipping a Republican-held Senate seat.
I'm so humbled. Thank you so much, really. Thank you.
But there was something behind that smile.
It's like you just won the biggest, race in the country. And the whole thing about depression is that objectively you may have won, but depression can absolutely convince you that you actually lost. And that's exactly what happened. And that was the start of a downward spiral.
In the interim between the campaign and being sworn in, at home in November, December, depression started gathering strength. Is that correct?
Very much, very much. I had stopped leaving my bed. I've stopped eating, dropping weight. I stopped engaging some of the most things that I love in my life.
Including time with Giselle and their 3 children, aged 8 to 14.
I had a conversation with my 14-year-old, and he said, "Dad, what's wrong? We're great, we're here, and you won." An incredibly sad moment where my 14-year-old can't possibly understand why you can't get out of your bed.
Someone you love as much as you love your son couldn't make you get out of bed, couldn't make you not be depressed. You stayed in bed.
Yeah, that's true.
But he went to Washington, and on January 3rd was sworn in. People who know you say that day you looked miserable and lost.
Yeah, I was definitely depressed.
I think with depression, you're always waiting for, that's the thing that's going to change it, right?
Giselle read as much as she could find about depression.
He just became the senator. He's married to me. He has amazing kids, and he's still depressed. Yeah. And I think the outside would look and say, how does this happen? But depression doesn't necessarily make sense, right? It's not rational.
He stops eating and drinking.
I was at a Democratic retreat, and many of my colleagues were coming up to me and asking, "Why aren't you eating?"
Did you care if you were there or anywhere or nowhere?
I just showed up where my staff said.
Robotic.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
As it was described to me, you were agnostic about the question of living or not at that time.
Yeah, well, I never had any self-harm, but I was indifferent, though. If the doctor said, "Gee, you have 18 months to live," I'd be like, "Meh, okay, well, that's how things go."
A concerned doctor began making arrangements at Walter Reed, and on his son's 14th birthday, he agreed to go. What a waste if you hadn't. Recovery was weeks away.
Yeah.
For the uninitiated, depression doesn't exist in the same sphere as love. So the question of how can a man not care about living?
This lady is she's a very good interviewer, man. I really like her. The way she talks, she's like a therapist.
Living in a world where those children you clearly adore are living.
It makes me sad. The day that I go in was my son's birthday. And I hope that for the rest of his life, his birthday should be joyous, and you don't have to remember that your father was admitted.
Oh, but wait, this is where your renewal began. His birthday is a day for both of you to celebrate.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Aww.
I'm looking forward to doing that.
You seem hopeful.
For the first time, yeah. It's a strange feeling for me to have.
Your trajectory from mayor to lieutenant governor, United States senator, was still pointing up. At 53 in politics, that's a young man. Can you have aspirations? Can you serve beyond the United States?
Yes, do it, Fetterman.
My aspiration is to take
Fix,
my
I mean,
son
you know,
to the
get
restaurant
the therapy and all
we were
that,
supposed to go
fix your
during his
depression.
birthday, but couldn't.
Whenever you
because
can,
I
bro,
had
grab that
checked myself
presidency
in
by
for
the
depression.
balls.
And being the kind of dad, the kind of husband, and the kind of senator that Pennsylvania deserves. You know, that's what my aspiration is.
Yes. Yes. Becoming like a fucking monopoly. Like there's monopolies everywhere, and then they start bribing politicians, and it becomes legal to just like give money and shit, and like corrupt people and lobbying, and you know, once it gets to that point, no. Like you gotta heavily regulate capitalism, or it will destroy itself. It's a self-destroying system, like most systems are.